Hello and welcome to Dialogue. I'm Yang Rui in Beijing. Kazakhstan, the biggest country in Central Asia and an important energy partner of China, has become closer to China due to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Belt and Road Initiative. How does this former republic of the Soviet Union look at the Euro-Asian Economic Corridor and its balanced foreign policy? The dynamics of the high-level official visits between China and Kazakhstan may highlight the importance of what we can learn from each other during the process of the post-Cold War reconfiguration. Today, we are honored to be joined by His Excellency Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, Chairman of the Senate of the Parliament of the Republic of Kazakhstan. But before we begin our discussion, let's take a look at this.
Kassym-Jomart Tokayev is Chairman of the Senate of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Before assuming that office in 2013, he served as Director General of the United Nations Office in Geneva, Switzerland. He was also both Secretary General of the Conference on Disarmament and the personal representative of the Secretary General of the UN to the conference. His wide experience in government includes service as Prime Minister, Foreign Minister and Secretary of State for his country, and posts to the embassies of the former USSR in both China and Singapore. Mr. Tokayev has a PhD in political science and is a graduate of the Moscow State Institute of International Relations, the Beijing Language and Culture University, and the Diplomatic Academy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, where he currently sits on the Board of Trustees. He is fluent in Kazakh, Russian, English and Mandarin, and is the author of 9 books on international affairs.
Welcome to Dialogue, Your Excellency. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang took the official visit to your country as the most important part of his Euro-Asian trip at the beginning of November. Now, looking back, how do you assess the importance of a bilateral relationship between Kazakhstan and China?
First of all, China and Kazakhstan are immediate neighbors, so we need to foster bilateral cooperation, and we have done it due to the efforts of the leaders of both countries. From the very beginning, the President of Kazakhstan has been very much keen to ensure very stable and friendly development of the relationship between China and Kazakhstan. We have resolved all the border issues. We laid down the basis of economic cooperation. That's the reason the last visit of the Chinese Premier, Mr. Li Keqiang, was extremely successful, because we do have a very rich agenda of mutual cooperation. I mean, the transfer of 51 big plants from the Chinese territory to the Kazakh territory. I think that is one of the major items of mutual cooperation.
Yes, of course, it's a very impressive part of the cooperation, but are you suggesting clearly that China was exporting our overcapacity due to the boom of infrastructure construction over the past decades in China?
Indeed, China is booming in terms of its economic development, but at the same time, Kazakhstan conducts industrialization program, so we are mutually beneficial in terms of supporting each other, and the reason both governments reached the agreement on transfer of major industrial objects to Kazakhstan. I think that for Kazakhstan it's quite useful in terms of successfully conducting our innovation and industrial program. But at the same time, for China, it's also quite useful, since you have too many industrial plants.
Is this also a major step in the correct direction of helping Kazakhstan industrializing your economy?
Yes, I think that it's one of the major steps and of our industrialization. But at the same time, I think that it's also one of the major streamlines of the economic cooperation between both states. And we have interagency commission, which is engaged in pursuing the program of economic cooperation between both states. I think that the prospects of this cooperation between our countries are quite positive and are very much promising.
Apparently, this is a sign of mutual complementarity for the two economies. But in our relationship, there is a catchphrase which is called capacity cooperation. Now, how do you look at the concept of capacity cooperation?
I think that we have a lot of priorities in this respect. Kazakhstan is a huge territory which is located between China and Russia. So China is pursuing its own program or concept of the Silk Road. So our task is to be helpful in terms of pursuing its program across the territory of Kazakhstan. At the same time, we are very much concerned about using our capacity as a logistic territory for the cargoes from China across the territory of Kazakhstan to Europe. Up to 2020, approximately 1 million containers are expected to be transported or to be shipped from China across the territory of Kazakhstan and beyond.
It seems the idea of a vast Euro-Asian continent is a big basket into which we can put the idea of the Belt and Road Initiative, President Putin's vision of the Euro-Asian Economic Union, and your Bright Road. How can we put the three things together and institutionalize the regular cooperation?
It's a matter of an agreement between, first of all, the three countries. You mentioned China, of course, Kazakhstan, and Russia. Kazakhstan is an active member of the Economic Union, and we think that the Economic Union can be linked up to the Chinese concept of the Silk Road. At the same time, we in Kazakhstan have the program, the special program, which is called Bright Way or Nurlujol in the Kazakh language. So I think that it's a matter of the governments to try to link up in a very business-like way the transportation, communications, so that the commodities from China could be shipped to Europe. For example, Lianyungang seaport. Nowadays already, your commodities from this port to Europe are being shipped just within 10 days. It's a very short time. So I think that the whole process has already started. And once again, I would like to underline that the prospect of this cooperation, I mean in the transportation area, is quite promising.
We understand the confidence of politicians who tend to paint us a rosy picture about whatever blueprint. But what about the challenges? For example, the oil shocks, the drop in commodity prices. Your country is rich in oil and gas as one of the major littoral states of Caspian Sea. What do you think of the impact of a resource curse? Will that impact negatively what is supposed to be healthy economic cooperation between Kazakhstan and China?
This problem does exist. We need to acknowledge it. That's why Kazakhstan's government launched its program of the industrialization and innovation. At the same time, we make emphasis on education in Kazakhstan. We do believe that just relying upon natural resources, this way will lead us to the deadlock. Yes, we are rich in terms of natural resources, God bless. We have plentiful of natural resources. Most of them are being transported to China, by the way. That's the reason we are very much interested in the successful development of China, in enlarging the opportunities or possibilities of the Chinese market to absorb our commodities. But at the same time, we also strongly believe that the economy of Kazakhstan must be multidimensional, with a focus on education, with a focus on high technologies. And in this respect, of course, we are also very much interested in having close cooperation with your country.
Major developing countries like Kazakhstan and China have obviously benefited enormously from the open world economic order. Last year, your country joined the WTO, World Trade Organization. However, the year 2016 is full of black swan events, such as winning presidency by Donald Trump, the president-elect. And his campaign success somehow represents the momentum of anti-globalization. In this broad context, what do you think of the adversity of further getting integrated into the World Economic Forum and order?
Yes, Kazakhstan has joined WTO. We are part of this world organization. At the same time, we are part of the Eurasian Economic Union. We strongly believe that both organizations do not contradict each other in terms of their goals, in terms of their laws, in terms of their norms. At the same time, we are closely watching what is happening around us, first of all in the United States of America. So it's quite interesting for us how the Donald Trump's administration will go ahead with its policy with regard to China as well as with regard to Kazakhstan. Just the other day, the president of Kazakhstan had a telephone conversation with Donald Trump, and they have agreed to launch a special agenda of bilateral cooperation with the emphasis on the struggle against international terrorism, on non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, economic cooperation, as well as other issues relating to the security in the world.
Not surprisingly, Kazakhstan was the first to have joined AIIB, a major investment bank for the building of infrastructure. You have just started the second 5-year plan for the economic development. Now, what do you make of the relevance here?
I think that this bank will be playing a very useful role in the economic developments of the appropriate states. That the reason Kazakhstan from the very beginning was quite positive to the setting up of this bank. At the same time, as you said, we have our national program, which is a strategic one, which is called Bright Way. So up to 2020, we are planning to reconstruct or to build 10,000 kilometers of highways in Kazakhstan. And our program is being funded by the major international institutions like the World Bank, European Bank, Islamic Bank, and Asian Bank. I think that probably in the future, the Bank of Investments, which has been established upon the initiative of the Chinese government, will be also very useful for us in terms of getting funding.
Thank you very much. You are watching Dialogue with Mr. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, Chairman of the Senate of the Parliament of the Republic of Kazakhstan. We are discussing the economic development, particularly Shanghai Cooperation Organization in the context of the Belt and Road Initiative. We'll be back in a short while. Stick with us, please. Welcome back, Mr. Chairman. Small and medium-sized enterprises constitute the bulk of the non-public sector in the Chinese economy, and their enormous contributions have helped create millions of jobs. Actually, up to 80% of the jobs were created by the small and medium-sized enterprises. And to my knowledge, your country is doing much the same. Can you elaborate a little bit more what your policy options actually mean for the future of the economy?
We are very much concerned about this problem, and it is one of our strategic goals to increase the number of SMEs in our economy, to make them, say, 70% of our economy. Now we have not more than 40%. We also strongly believe that in case of successful development of SMEs in our economy, it will lay down the basis for the successful development of our economy in the future. And of course, it's a matter of stability, internal stability of the country. So it means that it's also a political factor, not only economic one. So I think that, and we have, of course, a special program which is called 5 Institutional Reforms. And one of the items of this reform, of this program, is the development of SMEs.
What's happening in China ever since President Xi Jinping took office 4 years ago is the high-handed anti-corruption campaign. Now, in both countries, Kazakhstan and China, people feel comfortable with having a central government which is strong in executing macroeconomic policies. At the same time, the political force in the ruling party needs to be supervised to make sure that we have a clean house. With the widespread use of social media, I mean, ordinary netizens would of course use their social media to say, I'm not happy about this, I'm not happy about that. That has somehow exercised the democratic oversight. Now, during your social and economic transformation, do you face much the same problem of exercising oversight so that the government is more popular and cleaner?
Yes, we share similar values in this respect, because we are also very much concerned about corruption, which poses a strong challenge to the stability of the country, to the prosperity of Kazakhstan. That's the reason we are quite active in fighting corruption. Say, for example, the former Prime Minister has been put in prison for corruption, as well as other people, including ministers or governors. So in this respect, Kazakhstan, I think, on the front line of fighting corruption in a very strong way.
And do you think this is a part of the sustainability and resilience of the Kazakh economy?
I think yes, I fully agree with you. It's part of resilience and it's part of stability of the society in Kazakhstan, because people should see that the government or the leadership are really concerned about corruption. Without fight against corruption, there will be no progress. It's quite evident.
Let's look at your foreign policy. Kazakhstan used to be one republic of the former Soviet Union, and a legacy of that era is, of course, the Commonwealth of Independent States and perhaps the Euro-Asian Customs Union as part of the economic union. At the same time, we have established the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and I believe the United States and other European powers also keep a close eye on the dynamics of the SCO cooperation, whose initial mandate was to fight the three evil forces. Is it a major task for Kazakh government to maintain a balanced foreign policy between major powers in this process of a geopolitical reconfiguration?
We think that it is in our national interests to conduct the so-called multi-dimensional foreign policy. Of course, we are very much committed to the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation, which you mentioned. We strongly believe that this organization has a very good prospect, since its agenda is very much diversified, starting from fighting against three evils to the investment programs, economic cooperation and humanitarian ties. And it's also very much important that such big and influential countries like China and Russia are quite serious about the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation. The next summit is going to take place in Astana next year, and India, Pakistan and probably Iran are expected to be included or to be invited as full-fledged members of the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation. So this organization is becoming very much popular around the world. Whenever I'm traveling abroad, people very often ask me about the Shanghai Organization, whether it has good prospects in its development, and I'm always assertive, saying that yes, this organization is very much promising. Yes, at the same time, Kazakhstan is part of the Eurasian Economic Union. I think that both organizations do not contradict each other, because the Eurasian Economic Union is engaged in purely economic projects. In three words, Eurasian Economic Union, the word economic is very much important. And also I would like to mention that for us to have stable, friendly relationship with Russia and China are very much vital for our survival as an independent state, and we are grateful to China to having recognized our independence and to having supporting us economically as well as politically from the very beginning of our independence.
Fighting Islamic State in the Middle East is one major challenge for most of the international society. Do you view the rise of Islamic extremism as a major threat to the stability of our Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region? And we've talked to Pakistani government as well as other member states of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization about our worries and concerns. And it has a lot to do with the execution of the Belt and Road Initiative as well as your Bright Way blueprint.
I think that, first of all, I want to mention that we do not recognize all the terrorist organizations as legal. For example, the so-called Eastern Turkestan in Xinjiang, we do recognize it as a terrorist organization. Not speaking about ISIS. And our commitment to be engaged in the struggle against those organizations are quite serious. In this respect, we have strong relationship with China. Our special agencies as well as ministries of foreign affairs are in the process of having close cooperation on these very important issues. I think that the problem of international terrorism, which proceeds from the Islamic radicalism or based on Islamic radicalism, is extremely serious, and we need to establish a global network. We can overcome this problem, overcome this challenge, but what we need is to get together, to fight together against terrorism. And we are very much hopeful that the United States and Russia will find a common language with regard to fighting against terrorism in the Middle East. As to Kazakhstan, we are ready to provide humanitarian assistance to the people of Syria, which is suffering a lot these days.
In the hope of mitigating the negative impact of the refugee crisis. Well, earlier you spoke of the enlargement of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization by the SCO, which means India, Pakistan, and hopefully Iran will be included. Now, in both Pakistan and Afghanistan, there is a Taliban. Following the US-led war on the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, there is the now dynamic process of rebuilding in this war-torn country of Afghanistan. China is deeply involved in this process of reconstruction. Do you believe that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, through its enlargement program, may assist Kabul in rebuilding this country? And what can Kazakhstan do?
Speaking about Afghanistan, this country also participates in the activities of the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation. At least its leaders, either President Karzai, the former president of this country, or the current president, take part at the summits of the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation as guests. I think that it's quite important. At the same time, I strongly believe that Afghanistan must be in the focus of the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation as one of the challenges to the security and safety of the people of Central Asia. And as far as I know, the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation is closely watching what is happening in Afghanistan. We in Kazakhstan also are very much concerned about the situation in Afghanistan. As soon as the international coalition led by the United States will be withdrawn from Afghanistan, of course, it will be a big problem to our security and safety, bearing in mind the Taliban movement. So I think that there should be no compromise with the terrorist organizations. We must get together, and China in this respect should play a very positive role, active role in Central Asia. So we need to get together in order to fight against terrorism, in order to counter all possible challenges coming from outside, from beyond, to the security of Central Asia.
The SCO was established with the help of Russia. Moscow did play a powerful role in stabilizing the situation in Central Asia and in, of course, hopefully rebuilding Afghanistan, to say nothing of its fight against the terrorism in Syria. Recently, President Putin delivered a speech in Duma outlining the mission of shoring up people's patriotic feeling, rebuilding the economy despite the negative impact of commodity prices. In your review of the policy speech by President Putin, which is of course a closest ally of Astana, what are the most impressive highlights?
I think that it was a very good speech, at least in terms of closer cooperation with the immediate neighbors of Russia. For us to have stable relationship with Russia is one of the top priorities. Because, as I said, we share the longest border in the world.
With Russia?
With Russia. Approximately 25% of our population are Russians, ethnic Russians. So we need to have very close cooperation with this country. But at the same time, in a broader context, the victory of Donald Trump in the United States, first of all, of course, it's a promising sign that both powers, United States and Russia, perhaps get together in order to jointly address challenges coming, first of all, from the Middle East, from international terrorism. But secondly, it's a sign of rising nationalism in the world. Nationalism used to be a domestic phenomenon, either in France or in Russia or in some other countries. But at the same time, the United States, which used to be a symbol of globalism, is now showing some signs, very strong signs of nationalism. And nationalism, as a follow-up to the victory of Donald Trump, goes to the sphere of international relations. And sooner or later, nationalism will affect the international situation. So it's a very interesting phenomenon which needs to be studied quite thoroughly.
English, French, Kazakh, Russian, and the Chinese. You are multilingual. Do you think this will help you build a bridge in terms of friendship, as well as in particular interconnectivity and Euro-Asian Economic Union, particularly the Belt and Road Initiative, so that you can play a very powerful diplomatic role with your linguistic skills and sophistication of political
I feel
linguistics?
quite comfortable when handling some issues with Russia, since I studied at the Moscow Institute of International Relations. I worked in the Soviet Union in Moscow. At the same time, I feel comfortable here in China because I studied here in the Beijing Yuan Xuyuan, and I was working here in the Soviet embassy in Dongzhimen. I worked as Undersecretary General of the United Nations in Geneva, so I think that it's quite helpful in terms of having appropriate understanding what is happening in the world, in the major parts of the world, like China, Russia, or the West. I think that we need to be quite vigilant about some negative processes that do happen in the world. But at the same time, we must be quite optimistic about future development of the world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's it for this dialogue with His Excellency Mr. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, Chairman of the Senate of the Parliament of the Republic of Kazakhstan. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.